students to the lecture 9 on the chapter wave optics. In lecture 8 we discussed the resolving power of microscope and telescope, and hence we tried to understand the resolvability in terms of Rayleigh criterion and the validity of the ray optics. From here we move further to the third phenomenon, which is polarization of light. Now what we know is the light consists of electric field vector and the magnetic field vector, which are mutually perpendicular to each other and also perpendicular to the direction of propagation. And by nature the light is the transverse. So the nature of the light is transverse, where the vibration exists perpendicular to the direction of propagation. And among these two, that is electric field and the magnetic field vectors of the light, it is the electric field that produces the sensation of vision. When the light enters into the eye and when it falls on the retina, the electric field vector is something that produces the sensation of vision in the human brain. Okay, it is the electronic signal that it is sent. It is electrical signals through the electrons, neurons. Now, taking that into account, let us see this diagram in which we have red, green and blue vectors. Now what these are? Now all these are the electric field vectors of the beam of light. There are many waves from the same source which are coming, where the electric field vector may be in different orientations. So here we have chosen three orientations. The red color shows the wave in which the electric field vector is vertical. Green color is electric field vector of a wave which is horizontal, and the blue color wave is the electric field vector of the wave light which is diagonal. So therefore the electric field vector can have different orientations. Now we see here, so one of the sources produces the light which have both vertical and horizontal for simplification. So we have electric field vector which is vertical as well as horizontal. So thus that kind of light source is called unpolarized light. So this is called what? This is called unpolarized light. So the light in which the electric field vector vibrations are in various directions is called unpolarized light. And the light in which the electric field vector vibrations are confined to one particular direction, okay, is called the plane polarized light. So we have unpolarized light as well as plane polarized light on the screen. The plane polarized light have the electric field vector only in one particular plane. So the plane polarized can also be called as linear polarized light. Now if you see this diagram, you can understand. So we have two parts of the picture. So here in this, the electric field vectors in different directions falls on the polarizer, and after polarization the wave comes out. So this wave is horizontally polarized, whereas in second diagram, in one more diagram, the waves after the polarizer are vertical. Here the light gets vertically polarized. So both are plane polarized. Here the plane of polarization is horizontal, here the plane of polarization is vertical. So hence the phenomenon by which we restrict the vibration of the wave in a particular direction perpendicular to the direction of wave propagation is called polarization. Now here we can see the unpolarized light enters the crystal, and once it comes out of the crystal, the plane which is along the axis in which the vibrations exist is called plane of vibration, and the perpendicular to that is called the plane of polarization or plane of polarization. Okay. Now here the vertical arrows shows the vibration vertically, whereas the dots shows the direction of the vibrations which are in the horizontal plane. So hence the plane consisting the electric field vibrations is called plane of vibration, and the plane in which electric field vibrations does not exist and which is perpendicular to the plane of vibration is called plane of polarization. So we have plane of vibration, and perpendicular to the plane of vibration we have plane of polarization. Now let us discuss the methods of polarization. What are the various ways to polarize the light? So we have polarization by transmission, polarization by scattering, polarization by reflection, and polarization by refraction. In our context, in this lecture, we only discuss the first three, that is polarization by transmission, polarization by scattering, and polarization by reflection. Now here, what do we mean by polarization by transmission? When the light is made to pass through the crystals, also called polarizers, it restricts the electric field vectors in various directions, and it allows it only in one particular direction. Now try to understand. It allows the electric field vectors only in one particular direction. So therefore, in this case, here the electric field vectors have different orientation, but when it comes through this polarizer 1, here the electric field vector is only in one particular plane. When this is made to pass through this second polarizer, no light comes out. Now why no light comes out, we will discuss it later. Now here the polarizer restricts the electric field vibrations to one particular plane. Since the light gets transmitted through the polarizer, it is called polarization by transmission. So the sheets which absorbs the light waves having electric field vector in certain directions are called polarites. So polarizers are also called polarites. They are crystals. Now why do they do so? A polaride consists of long chain of molecules aligned in a particular direction. The electric field vectors along the direction of the aligned molecules gets absorbed, and the electric field vectors along the direction perpendicular to the aligned molecules are transmitted. So therefore, only the electric field vectors of one nature are given out. And the direction in which the vibrations are allowed is known as pass axis of the polaride. If I would like to stress it once again, now here the pass axis is vertical, whereas here the pass axis is horizontal. So since the pass axis is vertical, only vertical vibrations comes out from the polarizer 1. And here in polarizer 2, where the pass axis is horizontal, there are no vibrations which are horizontal or along the direction of pass axis. So therefore, no light comes out from the polarizer 2. Now let us list out the uses of polarides. So polarides are used in sunglasses to reduce the glare. We are using this. They are used as 3D glasses, in making of 3D glasses, which we make use to watch movies. They are used in window panes of car. And polarides are also used to produce the plane polarized light in the lab. There are some more uses, like we use them to produce the 3D effects as the cover of the 3D picture painting. We use the polarides in cameras to get the better picture and so on. Right? So to give you an idea, we have done this. So all the 3D effect that we see today is the vision through the polarides. Now there is a law associated with the phenomenon called Malus law. Now what this Malus law says is, so the Malus law states that that if there is the light and if it is passing through two polarizers, then we call one as polarizer, then second one as analyzer. Then the resultant intensity that is coming out of the analyzer, it purely depends on the angle between the pass axis of the polarizer and analyzer. Now let us try to understand what it is. If theta is the angle between the pass axis of polarizer and pass axis of analyzer, then the intensity of the transmitted light from the analyzer is given as I is equal to I naught into cos square of theta, where I naught is the intensity of the polarized light after passing through the polarizer. Try to understand. If theta is the angle between the pass axis of polarizer and analyzer, then the resultant intensity from the analyzer is I is equal to I naught into cos square of theta, where theta is the angle between pass axes. I naught is the intensity of the polarized light passing through the polarizer. To understand this in detail, let us go with this. Now here, the light that comes out from the polarizer, here we only have one polaroid, so therefore we call it as polarizer, whose intensity is I naught. Now let us keep one more polaroid. So along with A we have B. Now A is polarizer, B is analyzer. And now in this diagram, the pass axis of both A and B is parallel. So therefore the angle between them is 0. When the angle between the two pass axes is 0, the resultant wave that comes out is I is equal to I naught into cos square of 0 degree, which is equal to I naught. In the third, in C, the angle between the pass axis is 45 degree. The angle between the pass axis is 45 degree. So therefore the resultant intensity from the analyzer is equal to I naught into cos square of 45 degree, which is equal to I naught divided by 2. In diagram D, the two pass axes are mutually perpendicular. The angle between the pass axis of A and B, that is polarizer and analyzer, is 90 degree. So therefore I is equal to I naught into cos square of 90 degree, which is equal to 0. So this is what the Malus law tells. Now let us discuss the polarization by scattering. When we hold a polarizer or a polaroid, and if we rotate it by seeing the sunlight, we get a different amount of intensity. The intensity changes on rotation. Now why the intensity changes on rotation? When we go through this curiosity, we get to know that the sunlight gets polarized. Now the light from the sun enters into the atmosphere, which consists various number of atoms and molecules. The sunlight gets scattered in all the directions. The light from the clear blue portion of the sky shows the rise and fall of the intensity when viewed through the polaroid, which is rotated. And when the light travels in the atmosphere, it undergoes scattering due to the atoms and molecules present. The scattered light in the same direction as that of the incident remains unpolarized. The light at an angle 90 degree or perpendicular to the direction of incidence gets completely polarized, and the scattered light at any other angle than 0 and 90 gets partially polarized. So we get to know that the polarization is also possible due to scattering. The next method is polarization by reflection. Now here an unpolarized light is made to fall on the interface of a media. Then we get the light undergoing reflection as well as refraction. The reflected light is completely polarized. Okay, completely polarized. It is linearly polarized, whereas the refracted light is partially polarized. So this phenomenon is called polarization by reflection. Now to understand the polarization by reflection, if the light strikes an interface so that there is an angle 90 degree between the reflected and refracted rays, then the reflected light will be linearly polarized. When unpolarized light falls on the interface, and if the reflected and refracted rays, if they are perpendicular to each other, then the reflected light will be always linearly polarized. And this angle of incidence, which makes the reflected and refracted rays to be mutually perpendicular, is called Brewster's angle. So the angle of incidence that produces 90-degree angle between the reflected and refracted ray is called the Brewster's angle, which is denoted by theta subscript p. Now there is a law called Brewster's law followed by this phenomenon. So again we go with the same diagram. The unpolarized light is made to fall on the interface of a media of refractive index mu. Then the reflected ray get plane polarized, whereas refracted ray gets partially polarized. Now as we said, this phenomenon will occur if and only if the reflected ray and refracted ray are mutually perpendicular, or the angle between the reflected and refracted ray is 90 degree. Now by the law, the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. So therefore we have the angle with the normal of incident and the reflected as theta p. Let theta r, theta subscript r, be the angle of refraction in the media. Now what Brewster's law states? It states that the refractive index mu of the material is equal to the tangent of Brewster's angle. That is, mu is equal to tan of theta p. And what theta p is? Theta p is the Brewster's angle, the angle of incidence at which the reflected and refracted ray becomes mutually perpendicular and the reflected ray becomes plane polarized. Now let us try to prove this. Now from Snell's law we know the refractive index of the material mu is equal to sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction. Now from the figure we know angle of refraction theta r is equal to 180 degree minus 90 degree minus theta p. So therefore theta r can be written as 90 degree minus theta p. Therefore the refractive index mu is equal to sin theta p by sin theta r, which is equal to sin theta p divided by sin of 90 minus theta p, and sin 90 minus theta p can be written as cos theta p. So hence mu can be written as mu is equal to sin theta p divided by cos theta p. So therefore the refractive index of the medium can be given as tan of theta p. So hence in today's lecture we try to understand the phenomenon of polarization, different methods of polarization. We discussed the polarization by transmission, polarization by scattering, and polarization by reflection. With this, we finish the theory of the chapter wave optics. From next session, we are going to move with the numericals. Thank you.